Thank you for participating in the Citizen Science Initiative of the Compost Visitation Experiment. This video is going to introduce you to how to properly use our online resources for analyzing images we receive from our field sites. Effective analysis of these images is very important to us because you will be helping us determine how composting affects the wildlife of Connecticut. The first thing you should do in approaching this experiment is study our field guide so that you can learn how to identify animals in both easy and challenging images. The best way to do this is to look at our individual animal pages, like the opossum, for example. When you first come to a page, you will see an image in color and an image in night vision of the animal. This is followed by a brief description of the animal. In this description, you should pay special attention to where it says similar species, because there are species that look similar to the opossum or other animals, such as the domestic cat and the gray squirrel. After this, you see a series of what are known as well-defined images, where the animal is clearly visible in the image itself. Then we have a series of images that are challenging, such as this one. You can just make out the opossum's tail over here. Right underneath challenging images, you'll see keys to locating animals in these images, such as here. If you click on an image, you will see that it contains an arrow pointing to the animal in question. At the end of the page, we have Near Video. This allows you to observe the behavior of the animal at the compost pile and how it interacts with the pile and other animals that may appear in images. When you first arrive at our analysis website, the first thing you're going to need to do is create a profile. You can do this simply by entering your first name, last name, and your email address twice, and then simply clicking Create Profile. So after creating your profile, the first thing you're going to need to do is take the quiz. On this quiz, you're going to need to score a 90% or better if you want to analyze images on our database. In this quiz, you're going to be served 20 images. After completing the quiz, you will come to a page that looks like this. To see the images you got wrong, click on the thumbnails on the left side. Your answers will appear in the left column, and the correct answers will appear in the right column. You'll be able to see which images you got wrong, and you will have the option to retake the quiz. You can retake the quiz 5 times in a 24-hour period. If you're having trouble, be sure to go back and review the field guide again. In a later portion of this video, I'll explain to you how everything you see on this screen works. After passing the quiz, you're going to be presented with images from our database. They will be presented in the exact same layout as you saw in the quiz, and as you see here. The general layout of the site is this. You will see the image in question in front of you, and it will be the biggest portion of your screen. To the right of the image, you're going to see 10 selection boxes. 5 of them are for the type of species, and the other 5 are for the number of that species. For example, in this image, we see a single squirrel. So all I need to do here is select, go down to where it says squirrel, and then select the number 1. If that's all I see in the image, then I would hit Save Data, and a new image would be loaded. If there is an image where there appears to be an animal, but its view is obstructed for whatever reason, you can go to the upper right-hand corner of your screen and click on Consecutive Images. What this is going to do is load a series of images that were taken by our near video cameras. In this series of images, an animal may become clearer, or it may come into full view. If that is the case, you can then go back to the other screen and select what the animal actually is. When you sign on to Analyze Images, you will be presented with 20 images to analyze. If you want to do more after the first set of 20, feel free to continue analyzing images while you're logged onto the site. What I'm going to do now is explain to you some general strategy for looking at images. The first thing to note is that if you're ever confused about an animal, a link back to our field guide is right up here in the upper right hand corner of your screen. It'll open up our field guide in a new tab. When looking at images, the first thing you should do is carefully look at the image presented to you. If there is an obvious animal present, such as here we have a single deer, mark that down as the first species. If it's necessary, you can click an image to enlarge it in a new tab. You can then scroll up and down along the image so that you can clearly see other animals that may be in the image. An important thing to note is that you need to account for all individual animals in the image. They may be directly on the compost pile or anywhere else in the image, but they all need to be counted for. When looking at consecutive images, it's important to note that the image in question is always going to be image number 1. You are only looking for animals in this first image. The other images only serve as a guide for you to look for motion within the image. You should be using consecutive images often to be sure you're not missing any animals. In addition to a link to consecutive images, you will also find a link to our field guide and a link back to the instructions. From time to time you may see an image that has no animal in it. You need to carefully view this image to be sure that there is definitely no animal in it. If you are absolutely certain that there's no animal present in the image, all you need to do is hit Save Data, and it will bring up a new image for you to analyze. If you come across an image with an unclear animal, and you've used all our other methods of analysis, but still don't know what the animal is, then you can mark it as Unidentified. That's the second selection in the list. You would select Unidentified and how many of those animals are present, and then click Save Data, taking you on to another image. If you have any questions about our site or the experiment in general, please contact Professor Scott Smedley.